Hello, hello, Micaela. Nice to see you.
Hello, Mimi-chan. A pleasure to see you again.
Yes, yes, yes. I very excited to have you here because now it has actually been about 1 week since I've seen you in person because we got off the boat. While I'm talking to you, it's been almost a week. And off air, I was telling you that Oscar and I are very, very sad because we really miss the Galapagos.
Yes, Galapagos always will be with you, I think, after that experience.
Absolutely. Now, I was very excited to meet you and learn so much from you and all of your colleagues. Like, our brains are still overloaded from all of the information that we've been trying to share with our friends and family through our pictures, but we just could not stop talking about the naturalists that were there and how wonderful you made our experience. And I would love it if you would actually kind of just share with our audience who's listening and watching, like, what is a naturalist and like what does it take to become a naturalist? Because, here in the States, I'm sure if people are into wildlife, they might know, but I think most people don't understand the term. So maybe you could describe and explain it to us.
Okay, for us, a naturalist, it is somebody that is related with a profession that explains everybody the conservation. And in this case, specifically, we are explaining about our home. Yes, it is a naturalist guide. So we were leading groups or just guests that decided to visit to the Galapagos Islands and showing us about the scientific terms, about island lifestyle, and also conservation.
Yeah. And I feel like you knew everything about every animal and every tree and everything we saw there. How long does it take you to become a naturalist? Like, what kind of study is involved?
Okay, that's a really good question because I think that the people that has this connection directly with the wild, with the nature, we had been learning with the time. So had been a long process to have all this knowledge with us, because eventually when we read or we have an information in a book or a scientific paper, you can know many things, but you cannot be a naturalist easily here in the Galapagos Islands. It is not a profession you can select or you can choose to be, because every courses it really depends of the market. So the Galapagos National Park, they take the decision to open a new course, and it could be every 10 years or every 8 years. And it is a very difficult process to go in because the first step will be an admission exam. So, for example, in the course I did, that it will be the last course, um, were over 7,000 people that applies to be a naturalist to do the admission exam just in
Wow.
Santa Cruz, not counting the other islands.
Wow.
That just, yeah, and with that number, just 100 go in to the
Wow.
course.
Okay.
I definitely feel very lucky. After that process, it is like a university, but in this case, it's a course that is very intensive. It took more or less 3 months and a half, very intensive program with different exams. I think there were 4 exams. So if you are doing the course, nothing guarantee you that you will pass. So you need to keep
Wow.
studying the thing. You need to keep paying attention the classes, keep studying a lot, and then when you are done, when you pass with the grades, with the notes, and with good grades, you will pass and you will have different courses. For example, first aid courses. And what else? We need to do internship in different modalities of tourism we have here. For example, cruises is one of them. I remember cruise with my finger cruise. The internship after in cruises, in daily tours, in bay tours, in fishing tours, etc. So after we finish that internship with experienced naturalist, we will be accepted, or we will have our credential to guide around the Galapagos. And something that is like a very special requirement, it is to be, you need to be from here. So not the national naturalists or national guides that we have in the mainland cannot come here and apply it. So it makes not only the our visitors or our guest experience more unique, also providing you something else, that is the island experience with the people that belongs to the Galapagos.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Now I feel even more privileged. Yeah, I feel even more privileged to have been able to be on these tours with, I mean, we already knew you were all brilliant, and, you know, we kind of like tell people, well, they're like scientists, you know, but the extensive course study, but also qualifications to be able to lead those tours I had no idea it was so strict, but and so selective. So, and you're saying that each island, the ones that are inhabited, of course, have a lot of people that apply as well. It's not just from where you are. And if you could share with our listeners, like, I know that it's going to make me a bad student, but I don't remember how many islands there are. And I don't remember how many are inhabited, because I kept telling people we went to islands where there were no humans or bathrooms. So, yeah.
That's true. We have no those services on the pristine areas. Yes, there are 4 islands that are inhabited, and Santa Cruz is the biggest one. We have over 22,000 people, so it is like a small city. Then we have Isabela, that could be have over 3,000 people. We have Floreana Island, that has a maximum 150 guests, 150 inhabitants, and San Cristobal, that has over 5,000 people
Wow.
living there.
Yeah, and so, and then the rest of the islands are all uninhabited and like you say, pristine, and they truly were. I mean, I tell people that when I've been trying to describe and even show the photos, it doesn't capture the wonderment and the beauty of what we experienced. Like, I can't explain it. You have to see it with your own eyes to really to have that Galapagos experience, right? There's nothing you can do to explain it. I would love it. And one of the reasons I particularly invited you on the show, because I know you're saying everyone has to be kind of from the area, but you shared such amazing stories about your childhood growing up in the Galapagos. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, because now we're not there anymore, and Oscar can't get yelled at. But before we went there, we were telling everyone, oh, Oscar said, oh, you know, they give us little saddles, baby saddles, so we can ride the turtles. And people believed him. And we're like, no, you can't ride the turtles. That's not allowed. But he was like telling people this. And so, of course, when he got back, everybody said, did you ride the turtles? And then you actually shared a story of your childhood with turtles and just growing up, and when we were on the volcano together, and you were just sharing your childhood. And I'd love for you to share, you know, what that was like to have the Galapagos as your playground.
Exactly. Yes, I really try to show a little bit more to our guests, because eventually we're very focusing in the conservation, in the rocks, in the volcanology, or in science. And giving that extra information is also joining the human activity in the Galapagos, because as soon as the humans came here to this archipelago, we have a mixture of these 2 species, right? Well, many species here, but involving the Homo sapiens to the nature. So it is also important to mention that on all the places we have human presence, we will have impact, but also could be negative or positive. So I think understanding better, or just raising here in a place that you can see a lot of examples of love and life, you can also explain people that these areas, these animals belongs to part part of the history of the human history. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really important to share with you. I am always related the island lifestyle that I always talk about it. That is not
Yeah.
only animals.
Yeah. I would love it if you would share kind of some of the stories that you shared with me on the cruise where you played with, like, your games involved some of the birds, and also that you did actually as a child get to ride the tortoise, right? Even though I know that's a big no. Maybe you're not allowed to talk about it. I can cut this out if it's not okay. But as someone who didn't know when you're growing up, they were
Yes,
just there.
well, yes, it is not like a secret. Yes, it is like maybe it's something very unusual to say in a report, or because it is not a secret. All the kids here play with giant tortoise. Yes, it is not something we can do now, but
Right.
even if we had already Galapagos National Park, how you can say to the kids, don't talk to them or don't ride them. It is what's very common to have a picture in the top of a giant tortoise as a baby. So I think I have no a picture with a giant tortoise. I don't remember where it is, but I
Yeah.
saw just recently a picture of my sister in the top of her tortoise. So don't having any playground and just having wild species to play with. So it is something very like even if it's forbidden, it is nothing that there's nothing we can do. We need to play with something. So we were playing with them, definitely a very close encounter. And part of the histories I told you that week, it is that the giant tortoises can live over 100 years. So can you imagine how many people a giant tortoise have seen? And it is just counting maybe the pirates, maybe the whalers, maybe Micaela when she was a child. Never knows. So that's one experiences, right? And also another story that I told you, it is that when we were a child, well, I have my younger brother. We are a family of five. I have two siblings, but I play a lot with my younger brother, and we used to run in lava. Maybe not the same lava field that we walked through, but rocks and lava field were part of our entertainment. So it makes you think faster because you need to step on a rock and you need to keep thinking in the next steps and running so fast. And I also call the Galapagos Amazing Race because it was very extreme, and just learning being very flexible and fast to change directions. And the most important thing, it was to don't fall down. If you fall down, you cry a little and keep going because the race still continues. I, that, I have a lot of scars in my legs, and I'm very proud of that because I can say that's part of my childhood.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Talk about having a wild and nature for your backyard. That it's an understatement. But what's funny is in the States, a lot of the kids play games where they jump from bed to bed and they pretend there's lava. And so they're jumping away, or they're jumping from, rock to rock in on the playground or something. And they actually say, like, avoid the lava, but like you're literally like on a lava field. So that's kind of wild and amazing, really.
We have a very interesting skill is that climb trees. Oh gosh, I used to climb a lot of trees, and just I like a month or 2 months ago, I'm not sure, I had opportunity to climb a tree and I feel so good. I was like, yeah, I did it. I know it how this works.
Oh my God. I can't remember the last time I climbed a tree willingly. I love that. And one of the things that was so exciting when we met you was just your spirit and how much you enjoy nature and enjoy adventure. kind of a bit of an understatement. I'm wondering, since we're talking about some of the fun stories, I have a lot I want to talk to you about the environment and climate and everything. But since we're in the fun stories, one of the guests had asked you while we were in the tender. So for those of you who don't know, like basically you can't just like pull up to the Galapagos Island and park the ship and go. We take these tenders and zodiacs in and out, and sometimes we have a wet landing where we have to jump off the shore and go in. So there's a boat ride back and forth to our ship that's further away from the islands, and we get some wonderful time with the naturalists. And Micaela shared, we asked, what were some of her wildest nature encounters with animals, because I was telling everyone, you won't believe me, but like, I'm so scared of sharks that like, I didn't want to go into a pool when I was young, like I was so thinking about them all the time. And I watched the TV shows all the time of sharks. But when I was in Galapagos, I was looking for the sharks. And when I saw the shark, I was like chasing the shark. And I'm like, who is this person? So there is something about the Galapagos spirit that makes you a little bit more adventurous. And then we asked you, what were your most adventurous, like the wildest animal encounters? And you had our heart going on that boat ride home. I'd love for you to share with our audience some of your top experiences.
Yes, at the beginning, thank you for remember those stories. I think that living here makes you more extreme, and I think that part of my behavior, my spirit came from my family, because I have my mother that is an angel. She's so beautiful and she's so calm. But in the other extreme, we have my father that he's crazy. He has a nickname that they say that people call him the master kid, because when he came here, he was doing everything. He was working in everything, and he believed that he could do everything being a kid. So because of attitude, being just very active, doing everything and trying everything. So I think I had a little bit of that extreme spirit to try it everything, to why not, think it fast. If you want to do it, why not? So one day I was swimming with, well, we didn't dimension because it was very murky at the first, very not, I don't remember the times, but one of the extreme experiences was swimming with a tiger shark. So the people, when you hear tiger shark, everybody's like, be careful, it is dangerous, it is one of the top predators in the, it's not the top, it's not in the top, but it's one of the top predators underwater, so be careful. So one guest told me, working with celebrity, and told me, Micaela, what's that shark that is very close to us right here? And I said, look, wait me a minute. It is a tiger shark. Please take your distance. And when I finished to say that, I dived in and started to follow it. And I was trying to see its eyes, but it was very hard because I was swimming so fast, and it was a massive species. I could saw the physical characteristics, the straps it has. A wonderful shark. I am a shark lover, so it was like one of the top experience I had with sharks. So it was very beautiful, and one of our guests shared with me a picture, so it was beautiful. It is not the clearest picture, but it was my first encounter, and until now I'm still looking for more tiger sharks, and I haven't seen it yet. So it was the first and the closest.
Oh my gosh.
So, and in the tender also said, when I was telling you that story, I remember, I think I felt something more extreme, and I remember the orcas. So one day I went in a boat that we finished a fishing activity. So, and very coming very close to Santa Cruz from Rabida Island, one of the islands that are protected that no people lives. And the orcas started to jump to show us how beautiful they are. And in part of the law says that you cannot swim with whales or also dolphins, because we know that behind those species, maybe somebody else could be, or maybe we don't know that much about the behavior of these species with a human presence. I think it's so fast that I wanted to be there, and I definitely wish it. So I was like saying asking to the captain to please, that he could give me the permission to go. So I told him how was the strategy to go. So holding a rope, and he still just handling the boat. But I never, that the promise was that I will never leave the rope, never. So something that I didn't told you that day, it is that I was dry already. We finished all the activities, all the snorkeling activities. So I was dry, and when I went down, I was holding the rope, and he started to move the boat. That for a human it is a very big impact, but it was very strong to hold that rope. So I decided to don't never leave the rope. And in a moment that I was like drifting with the boat, I felt that my pants were going down because of the speed.
Yes.
So I was like taking a different position, or a stronger, holding the rope and trying to place your legs in a different position to don't lose your pants.
Oh my God.
Same time, the orcas destroying and stingray in the bottom. So I forgot about my pants. I forgot about my legs. I was just enjoying how beautiful that moment was. So they were like pushing the stingray to the bottom. There were the three of them. It was a huge. I think that it was a male, female, a medium one, and very very small, the calf, the baby orca. So it was like I saw that the baby was learning how to do it, and both adults were pushing the stingray to the bottom, and the internal organs were coming out to the surface, and in the surface the frigates were taking the organs. So it was a feeding frenzy. The frigates were in the top, eating the internal organs of the stingrays, organs in the bottom, Micaela in a side and next to them. So, and the boat, it was the same as big as the male. So it was a little bit scary for everybody that was looking from outside. So part of the plan was that if something happens, the sailor was ready to take me out from the water. That was part of the plan. So when I was meeting a lot of sound, that the male, as a protective instinct, yes, it was coming to me, because normally it's supposed that they are very jealous with the babies, with the calf of the orcas. So when I saw that behavior, I told to the sailor that please take me out, and he was petrified because he saw the big mass, the huge male coming to me, and he couldn't move. And even the other guests that were around looking at all the a spectacular moment. So everybody, I saw their faces, and I saw the sailor's face. That is something I will never forget it. So the second time, I just saw what was happening underwater. I saw the male so close to me, so I screamed out and I told to the sailor, "Please, I told you, take me out!" And he just reacted and just pulled me out. And at the moment, the orca just was next to the ship, to the boat. So I had just the right moment to take my body out and to take my legs out because we're talking about a small boat. So I think that the process, the next behavior or the next action was of the male pushing me through the boat because he came so close.
Oh.
So I said I was very scary. I told it to my family. Well, nobody said nothing. The sailor was like yellow color. The captain said, "Okay, you got it. Let's go. Continue." And everybody said, "You're crazy. You're a little bit crazy." And I said, "Okay, thank you. Yes, I think so. There's something you cannot do it." When I come back, I told to my mother. My mother was very mad with me. She told me, "Micaela, you are so crazy. You cannot do that. You cannot risk your life. What are you thinking?" okay, I left my mom. I went to my father. My father was very relaxed, and he told me, "Okay, Micaela, okay, it is okay, but don't do it again. It is very nice. I think I have been doing that, but not necessary to have those risks." And I say, "Okay, thank you, Daddy."
And how long ago was this? How old were you at the time?
Okay, I was like 23,
Oh
and
my
now I
goodness.
am
Um,
29.
so that means you probably when we were on the boat and you were telling us all these wild stories, we were just it's so much shock. And even you telling me again is still very shocking. And I can imagine it. And just you trying to get your feet out of the water just in time is just so frightful. So well, we're glad that you survived that and you're okay because then we were able to meet you. Now,
Yes.
Now, I'm really curious because you have seen in the last, 30 years pretty much the islands and how they've changed. Do you see major differences, not just in the animals, because of course we talk about adaptation and we learn all these things about the animals, but do you see big differences from when you were a child to now in the islands? And in what ways have they been positive? And what ways has it been negative?
Yes, yes. I can see the changes talking about eventually the ambition of the human. It is not good. And the island lifestyle I experienced, it was a little bit different than today with more technology. And the kids, I think they have a different vision. So definitely yes. Well, technologies and time and the development of the cities have been changing with the time. It's supposed to be better, but eventually I can see some negative effects. Talking about education, people forgot about education. We were talking about, I think we are agreed that education is the most powerful tool to change the world. So hopefully we could have more a different type of education for the next generations, because also the pioneer people that came here, they cannot recognize how the Galapagos was at the very beginning. Yeah, so I really hope that everything changes, and people not only can see business in the Galapagos, also can see the benefit we have from the nature all the time. But yes, hopefully don't have an extra big impact with the wild. For example, in Santa Cruz Island, where I am from, in the highlands, in the lowlands, everywhere, very healthy population of this species. So also we have private properties, so with fences that are changing their migratory path and things like that. For sure, we're having an impact,
I see.
but hopefully less in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, on one hand, I'm was so thrilled, obviously, to go to the Galapagos and feel really privileged, to be honest. I feel like a lot of people say, "Oh, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity," et cetera, et cetera. But like, I wonder what your thoughts are as a naturalist, but also as someone who lives there. And I do understand that tourism can be good because it brings people to see your culture, it brings people to respect it. But at the same time, then it can be bad, right? There's like good and bad. Like, how do you view tourism? I know that's a hard question because your job is literally to tour people. So it's part of your livelihood. But like, how do you view it? And maybe I guess how do the locals view it? Like, do you feel tourism is good for the Galapagos?
Yes, I think so. I think that not only the Galapagos, all the places that can make a big impact in humans will be a good place to go. And I think that the Galapagos is a good example to show everybody how how important it is to see these kind of environments, this kind of species, to keep protecting and have changes in our lives, from any part we belong, any country, any city. So I really hope that the Galapagos experience can change everybody's life. So I think that if the Galapagos is a destination to learn that, I'm totally agree that all the visitors can come here and just enjoy iguanas in the pier, pelicans, sea lion in the fishing market. So to learn how is the interaction between wildlife and human here, and it's possible. It is possible with that conscious we need.
Yeah, one of the things I explained to a lot of people who asked questions about our trip was how careful we were going even between each island. On most cruise ships they say, "Okay, scan your bags, let us know what you're bringing back." But we were like washing our shoes to make sure we didn't bring different pebbles or different gravel from one sand to another, and there was so much consciousness on trying to keep everything very, very separate. And I thought that was kind of fascinating and obviously very difficult to do, but there was so much care and emphasis on keeping each island to have its own, environment and not like disrupting it in the best way possible. I mean, I know it's a challenge, but I think you all do a really great job of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we try to do our best, um, just following the rules of the Galapagos National Park and trying to give you that beautiful present that is education. I know that was a little bit tired, maybe a little bit repetitive, but very necessary. For example, just right now, listening to you, that you're telling me that you have that message, it makes me feel very, very proud of our job, because that's the message: change lives.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be something that's going to take me several months to digest and to reflect. And I I wouldn't even say that I'm this person who's like, "Oh, I love all animals and I want to see animals all the time." And I don't have pets or anything. So but going there, and especially birds, I have to say that I've never been so interested in birds in my entire life. But seeing the birds of the Galapagos, it was just because they were right in front of you, and they were so close. And it was like seeing a new species that I've seen a bird before, but it was like seeing a bird for the first time ever, and obviously the sea creatures were so much fun, the sea lions and everything. But I just found this appreciation for animals I never thought I would find interesting. And it was so enriching. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about climate change, because it is something like here in the States, we hear a lot of things, we try to recycle, we all try to do our part, quote unquote. And I just feel like it's still not enough. And I wonder if you see the effects more in somewhere that is pristine, like the Galapagos, where it is somewhere that you can really study and actually see change on a daily basis. Because, I was talking to Manuel, one of the other naturalists, who's amazing. And he told me every day I go out into the islands, I learn something new and I see something new for the first time. And I thought that was amazing, because I think he said he's been doing it over 30 years. And the fact that he told me every time he goes, he sees something new. I was wondering, in terms of environmental issues and climate change, what are you seeing kind of happening on the islands, or do you see anything happening?
Part of our passion is to keep learning and keep looking different things every day. And I'm very in love with my job. I really try to transmit all the love and the passion to everybody of you, with this inspiration of the situation we can find outside. And also about the climate change, I really believe that we are having effects. There are areas where we used to have some corals that were alive or more underwater, talking about invertebrates, underwater life, or maybe the presence of more giant sea turtles are reducing, I think, because they decided to move to an area with better conditions or with more food source. And it is something that you cannot say it like as a result of a scientist study, but you can see it, that the corals have been dying, They are not color. Well, we have no colorful corals in the Galapagos Islands, but we can just detect when they are alive and when they are dead. So for me, it has been very sad to see areas that are like brown and becoming to be dry, white. I know that it will be part of the cycle, and one day it will be in a shore and it will be a beach because of the calcium carbonate. But I think it is caused by the climate change. For example, in the Galapagos, we had no like the seasons, but we have two different periods, one with rain and other one without rain. And normally it was very strict with the months, but during the time, everything had been a craziest. We can have colder times or more wet season and short dry season, or more dry season and very short wet season. That is also affecting to the wildlife and also to the humans, because we were, for example, talking about lifestyle, island lifestyle, talking about specifically about farmers, and they were planning their crops with the rain, and with this climate change everything had been changing. Or with the pioneers, they knew that in that season they will have, or they will collect fresh water, but it looks like everything has been changing and we have no fresh water in the months we used to have, and everything had been changed a little bit. So I really believe in climate change that is affecting in all the world.
Yeah. And do you, other than, the basic things that people say to do, like recycle, try to use less gas, and what do you feel we can be doing better, like as humans? What do you have advice on what we can be doing that's better? Or is it just kind of the same messaging that we have been hearing about, like recycling and using less gas and moving towards better efficiency and things like that? What advice do you all give? Because I know you do. I feel like you do a bit of a better job there. You're so strict. There's no bottled waters allowed. Like we all had to make sure we were really conscious, like as guests anyway. But I know, as islanders, it might be different. But what do you feel like we could be doing better?
A message for everybody is do more than you can do. You can do beyond your actions, your common life, because here, for example, in the Galapagos, we have restrictions to don't bring more bottles, don't bring a specific type of plastic bags. So just being so strict like that with laws, you can live without those things, and you didn't then mention till you have a strict law. So I think doing beyond of your actions, doing a little bit more, it is something positive that maybe somebody else is doing in the world.
Yeah,
So we are
100%.
making a big community of positive things. Eventually we think, okay, I'm doing well, I'm recycling, I'm reducing, I'm just not using things I don't need, etc. But let's do beyond of that
Well said. Well said. I will tell our
all the
listeners.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell our listeners that when we packed for the flight from Ecuador, from the mainland Quito over to Baltra, the Galapagos airport, they said they're going to go through your luggage. And if you have useless plastic bags, they will confiscate them. They are not allowed at the Galapagos. They were very strict about what we could bring. They even did a sanitization in the plane to make sure there were no, live organisms being transported over there. So they really do the best they can to keep the islands as pure as possible. And I get that we're all coming in as tourists and we don't necessarily 100% of the time do it as well as we should or could be doing, but we're definitely doing the best. But like I really felt very proud that the actions that were taken to get us over there and how we were transported, and just even the ship that you and I had the privilege of being on, they said it's like a Tesla, it's very, very energy conscious and environmental and was built for the Galapagos in mind. So, I mean, those things I feel at least help us, like you said, appreciate the island and get to go and see it, but in a safe and responsible way, the most responsible way we can.
Exactly, yes. And for example, we cannot, talking about contamination, we cannot stop the plastic coming to the Galapagos Islands, for example. The plastic has really good buoyancy and will be floating till the Galapagos. And something we try to teach to everybody, because has been a process also for us, is to collect the plastic. You can take it. So that's how we try to keep our places clean, because we have many garbage that came from different parts of the world, but maybe in the places you visit you couldn't see any plastic, and nowadays we are collecting microplastic, tiny fragments of plastics that belongs to a big structure, maybe that have been drifting with the time, with a lot of maybe even smaller, that is even worse because it's more complicated to collect. But we always transmit that message. If you collect 3 pieces of microplastics, let's then mention how many pieces of microplastic we can collect with 100 guests, and every week, and all the year. Huge difference. And
Yeah.
that's why I guess small changes, small things are getting better,
Yeah,
our
every
planet.
action matters and everything adds up. So even when I think we get discouraged saying, why does it matter if I do this one thing? And it does, like you just said, if everybody does the one thing, then it becomes so many and we can do it all together because we are all living in this planet together and definitely should be taking care of it together if we're going to be here. So I don't want to keep you too long. I know you have things to do. You're going back on board tomorrow. I'd love for you to just, kind of maybe share a little bit about what your life has been like ever since you've been a naturalist with celebrity, if you like, because I know you're on the ship. Is that different than doing tours on the island? Did you used to do that as well, or have you always been doing them with the cruise ships?
Yes, I think I have been crossing through all the modalities of tourism we have here in the Galapagos, and it has been very special, all of them. Different things to learn, and different logistics, kind of pretty new, because we're talking about organization, we're talking about teamwork, we're talking about communication. So it was a little bit complete experience. But in the other modalities of tourism, you work by your own, or also in small ships. You work on, and you're the unique naturalist. So you need to do the schedule, you need to organize
Oh,
everything. So it has different changes. Also, meeting people from different parts of the world, with different type of economies, with different opportunities. So that has been very, very positive, I think, for me, because I always learn from everybody of you. And that makes also better experience to keep being a naturalist and keep showing everybody the beautiful things we have here. Yes, and you can do it. You can select what you want to see. For example, I went to the mainland on Thursday. Yesterday, I was doing a land tour
mm,
with a couple of British people, British visitors. So it was very, very interesting because they came here in a honeymoon. So there are things that you absorb the positive energy, the positive things for everybody. And I think that that experience makes me keep growing and keep giving you a better service. I think we try to grow all the time. So yes, we can select even in our day off. With days off, we can just keep working in
oh
different.
wow. So on your days off, you're still working. I thought you'd be just relaxing and snorkeling. No, I'm just kidding. And diving.
Yes, eventually, it's because my husband is on board, so I
Okay.
need to do something.
Ah. Because
to keep my
Micaela,
time busy.
yes, Micaela, you're too restless. You have too much energy. I love it. I love it. Well, I know that we're having a lot of internet connections. So I want to tell you, please come and visit me in Florida. We also have birds and animals that you can see the difference between how friendly yours are and how not friendly ours are. But I would love to see you here one day.
Yes, I couldn't hear you that much, but I think I got it. Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. Um, and if there's any opportunity, one day, hopefully Oscar and I will be able to go back to the beautiful, beautiful place that is the Galapagos. It was so special, and it will something that will always be in our hearts. And mainly not just the nature and the wildlife, but you and all of the naturalists really made it just such a special and incredible experience. Like it's very difficult to put into words. So I just want to thank you again for that experience. It was really, really meaningful, and we learned so much, and it will be with us forever.
It's all a pleasure. You have to believe me. Yes, always welcome, and also an invitation to everybody that I know that is a very long journey to come here. But once you are here, you will feel and you will see that it's worth it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Micaela. I hope that we have an opportunity to talk again, especially about more of the animals, because there's so much more stories for you to share. So hopefully you'll come back and talk to me again, maybe next time you have a break and when you really take vacation this time, not like this time where you were working on your vacation.
Yes, why not? Always, always.
All
It
right.
is a pleasure just to be with you, talk with technology through the technology. So it has been a whole pleasure to meet you too.
Excellent.
So see you anytime.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/Sifu Mimi Chan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.